After dominating with the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, Tua was a hot commodity at Alabama, and although injuries have kept him from shining in Miami, it seems like this has been the year to prove the doubters wrong, but no one's noticed. So let's talk about what's going down in South Beach.
Pressure. Tua deep on the sideline, Devontae Smith who catches everything. Touchdown, Alabama!
After putting together a phenomenal sophomore season with the Tide, expectations were high on his junior performance, and Tua was more than living up to them until...
Pressure from behind. He's down, and Tua's down.
Midway through what was looking to be one of the most impressive single seasons in college football history, Tua got injured, and his time at Tuscaloosa had come to an end. Although he could have stayed another year, it seemed like Tua felt like he'd already proven enough, so he decided to declare for the draft after only a season and a half as a starter at Bama. For most quarterbacks, it would be difficult to make the jump to the NFL after season-ending injury, but since Tua had already proven himself time and time again in the games that he's played in, he was still a top 10 prospect in his class. Coming off an injury and still being highly valued is pretty impressive no matter the year, but considering how loaded the 2020 class was, it proved that Tua was still seen as one of those guys. Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and former teammate Hurts were all big names out of college, yet only one of them went before good old Tua T.
The Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU.
Burrow was taken first overall by Cincy, a spot where Tua might have gone had he not gotten injured so early into his junior season. But no matter the case, it didn't take long before the Bama star was taken off the board.
The Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa.
Considering the fact that he barely played as a senior, going 5th overall was pretty wild. It made a lot of people very curious about how well he could rebound in Miami. After an underwhelming 5-11 season the previous year, the Dolphins were able to get a top 5 pick, and since they were in need of a franchise quarterback, they decided to turn to Tua. Thankfully, they had a veteran in Fitzmagic who was able to help the former Crimson Tide star adjust to the next level, along with a one-of-a-kind superstar and Josh Rosen, giving Tua some real competition.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
All the joking aside, even though Tua was a high draft pick, he didn't start initially in order to get his feet wet, until midway through the year, when he was able to take the starting reins following the Dolphins' bye. Many were critical of the decision because of how well Fitzmagic had played as of late, but no matter the case, the rookie was given a chance to prove himself the rest of the season. And it was a bit rocky. There were some good performances sprinkled in, but he wasn't really able to get his footing as a mix of underwhelming play and injuries kept him from any sort of consistency. Although the Dolphins were still able to end the season with an impressive 10-6 record, they just missed the playoffs to Indy and Cleveland in what was a pretty competitive AFC. Nonetheless, there was a plethora of questions surrounding not just Tua, but Miami as a whole, considering the fact that they were full of young talent. So with that in mind, going into the following season, now that Tua was officially starting, many were wondering if he would prove himself as a guy in Miami, or if he would struggle once again. Against New England in Week 1, he was able to lead the Dolphins to a win, but didn't necessarily show enough to prove that he was that guy for Miami. The following week against Buffalo put that idea in even more question, as Tua struggled early on, and then this happened.
Knocked to the ground. This time it's A.J. Epinesa. Yeah, Tua's in some pain.
Once again, injuries took Tua out of action, but thankfully this time he only had to miss around a month, since he only fractured a few ribs.
Are you serious right now, bro?
Well anyways, fast forward to week 6, and Tua was back against Jacksonville and London. And although the team lost, Tua put up an impressive stat line, albeit against an underwhelming Jaguars squad. Either way, over the next few weeks, Tua played pretty well, but the Dolphins just couldn't get a win as they dropped to 1-6 and then 1-7. Thankfully, the team was able to beat Houston the following week, but in a game that Tua missed once again. Following a pretty rocky start to the season, Tua was able to come back against Baltimore, and he must have brought some magic with him, as the team somehow won their next 6 straight to get above 500. Following the hot streak, although they got smacked by Tennessee, they finished the year on a high note with a win against New England to end 9-8. Considering how rough the first half of the season was for Tua and the Dolphins, it was an impressive comeback, and although Tua played in only 13 games, he was still able to prove that he could do pretty well with over 2,600 yards and 16 touchdowns on a mixed bag of an offense. The tide seemed to be literally turning in South Beach, but the waters got a bit choppy as internal conflicts led to the team firing head coach Brian Flores.
Miami Dolphins chose to fire coach Brian Flores.
There was a lot of speculation that differences between Tua and Flores might have been one of the major reasons behind the firing, as the two never seemed to get on the same wavelength. But no matter the case, the Flores era in Miami had come to an end, but only a few weeks later, a new one had already begun.
I'll start with Matt. I'll kiss him because he's most endearing.
Seems like there may have been some validity to the problems between Flores and Tua, because from the very get-go, Mike emphasized the importance of Tua leading the team and how he has the utmost faith in his ability on the football field. But nonetheless, Mike was looking to create a new culture in South Beach, and so he decided to help out the team with a bunch of new faces.
Tyreek Hill has been traded from Kansas City to Miami.
Teron Armstead, left tackle, entering my 10th season in the NFL.
Now that the offense has some extra firepower with Taron, a superstar in Tyreek, and the rising stud in Waddle, it seemed like Tua was going to have more than enough time to work with in order to play like he did back in Tuscaloosa. Since Mike had already proven himself as an offensive mastermind in San Francisco, it was looking like what could be the perfect mix for a contender. And let's just say it's gone pretty well so far.
Tua going deep. Oh, he's got Hill! He's got Hill!
Considering all the changes that went down over the offseason, it seemed inevitable that the team was going to look very different the following year, but many questioned whether or not they would get better or worse. Well,
time, deep, oh, he's got Waddle! Inside the 10!
The doubt quickly vanished as the new pieces helped Tua play like a top 5 pick once again, especially against Baltimore.
There he goes, Oweh chasing, touchdown, crack.
Although Tua played well against New England, he was a different beast in Baltimore as he, Tyreek, and Waddle tore the Ravens defense to shreds in a huge win for the team. Going up against Buffalo the following week was another tough test for Miami, and although they ended up winning, it wasn't without controversy.
Tagovailoa, oh boy, getting up. Oh my goodness, that's an awful sight to see.
After what was said to be a back injury midway through the game, Tua went back in even though he definitely suffered a concussion. In my personal opinion, if someone is stumbling like this, then they probably shouldn't be back in the game, and so it only made sense that the NFLPA decided to investigate the decision. Considering all the hoopla around the situation, many were curious about whether or not Tua would play in the team's Thursday night matchup against Cincinnati only a few days after the hit, but eventually somehow he was cleared and sure enough suited up. Initially everything seemed to be okay, but then this happened.
With the grain and down he goes! And uh-oh.
In one of the most shocking moments in NFL history, Tua's hands tensed up in what is considered a fencing response after a hit midway through the second quarter, and so he was immediately taken out of the game and sent to a medical hospital. Thankfully enough, he was discharged later that night, but the damage had been done, as only 2 days later, the neurotrauma consultant that was involved with Tua's concussion check against Buffalo was fired. Considering the gravity of the situation, it wasn't a surprise that although Tua cleared concussion protocol before the team's matchup against Minnesota, he wasn't able to return until the following week against Pittsburgh. On Sunday Night Football, Tua played well enough to beat the Steelers and prove that he was back again. And over the next few weeks, Tua proved it over and over again as he led the team to 3 straight wins behind nearly 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns without throwing a single pick. At the moment, the Dolphins are sitting at 7-3, with their only 3 losses coming in the games where Tua either had to leave or miss completely. So needless to say, it seems like Mike has already started to change the culture in South Beach. And along with him, Tua has proven that he is extremely valuable to the success of the team, with the Dolphins looking as dangerous as ever. Not only is Tua doing well, but both Waddle and Hill are top 5 in receiving yards. And that's all the more impressive considering that Tua missed pretty much 3 weeks. Although there's been a bunch of new pieces throughout the season, it seems like with Tua under center, the offense is as high-powered as any in the league, and it's been pretty much impossible for any defense to really stop them. My man Tua is playing like an MVP completely under the radar, and against all odds is leading a dangerous Miami team to the top of the AFC along with him. Guess the whole Tyreek Hill addition was even more important than anyone could have anticipated because it's been pretty much impossible for anyone to stop him and Waddle for an entire game. And it makes sense because it's asking a lot. As long as they keep doing what they're doing and Tua keeps playing like an MVP, I think the Dolphins could be playing in February. But all we can do now is wait and see.
Tagovailoa, blocked by Armstead, going, he's got him! He's got him! Tyreek Hill!
Thanks for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, it would be awesome if you could subscribe, like, and comment down below what stuff you want next. But anyway, see you all soon, and peace out.